Happy Saturday, everyone. It's me, V, the Cepheus Scholar. I wanted to send a special shout out to everybody from the Black Podcast Support Network who has joined, subscribed to me. I really appreciate all the love, and I'm definitely going to show love back. Now, let's get into our And Just Like That Season 1, Episode 7 review. The name of this episode is Sex and the Widow. So, right off top, I'm going to say this episode was super duper duper boring. It was boring. It took me forever to get through it. It took me many, many times to try to get my notes. Like I said, it's definitely not the original series, but I know they were trying to change it up. But I think a lot of the choices they made with the casting, the way that they did the dialogue that doesn't sound like the human is speaking, some of the things that they want to be funny that are not funny, but stuff that ends up being funny by mistake, it's just all over the place. I wanted to shout out Nicole Ari Parker. I think she's amazing in here. She's actually a breath of fresh air on the show. Of course, I like Sarita Chowdhury. I love her from Mississippi Masala. She's definitely serving the girls in this episode, in this series, period. She's definitely taking over the Samantha spot. She's bringing fashions, and she's keeping it straight to the point and telling Carrie that she's a mess. And we're going to get into Carrie, but with all that being said, let's get to what the episode was about and give a little bit of review on the way. So it starts off with a view of Carrie writing on her Mac. This show she was columnist writer in the original series, and they always showed her writing and always had a voiceover of her speaking about her thoughts. I really miss the voiceover. I think it gave a little punch that the show needed, but it's gone now. But she's sitting there on her Mac. You can tell that there is a change in time because it's going through the seasons, and they kind of prove this by having a couple of little, look like somebody stood on the roof and dropped a couple of leaves to signify fall. They really don't have a budget. You can obviously tell. Then it went through the rainy season, and then it went through the snow. So some time has passed and big passed, and so they want to make sure that we were able to tell that in that first scene. Then it pans over to Carrie meeting with her publisher, and her publisher is just gushing over the book. I believe her name is Amanda. She said she left tears on the pages. She went through 2 boxes of tissues. Hopefully, I'm a writer too. One day I can have that effect on somebody. But I thought that was really cool that she loved Carrie's book. Carrie said she was afraid that she hated it because the message she left was so cryptic about the book. And Amanda said that she wanted to show her reaction in person, and she had good news for Carrie that she wanted to fast track the book for Christmas season. She just had one note. Although the book was raw, honest, and brutal, can't speak today. Forgive me, y'all. Brutal. It was really, really sad. Basically, you spent your whole life on a quest for love. You finally get it, and he dies. So the book is a downer. You know how I feel about them killing off Mr. Big in the beginning. I guess Chris Noth didn't want to do it, but now he has his own problems with all the SA charges, allegedly. So I'm not surprised that they don't have him on the show. I mean, like I said, if she loved him that much, when she walked in and he was having a heart attack in the shower and he was still alive, that lady ain't trying to call 911. She knows she like 4'11", 2 pounds. She trying to pick him up. She let the man gas. I would have called 911 if I would have fought that hard. Then the man's side chick did all this crazy stuff to be with this man. Had his wife chasing me down the stairs, falling and breaking her tooth. Keep getting skipped over only for me to get him. Oh yeah, and he stood up at the altar, did all that only to let him die in that shower. As you can see, I get upset. But forgive me, we're gonna keep it moving. So she said you spent your whole life on a quest for love, and you finally get it, and he dies. She says it's a super dark departure from what you really usually write, because remember she's a sex columnist, right? So you're known for writing Sex in the City, and she is afraid that if the book is published as is, people are going to pitch themselves out the window eating their Haagen-Dazs. So basically she's saying the people finna jump. So Carrie says she doesn't want this. So the publisher suggests she gives the reader some type of hope. So a lot of people who put out their movies and books when it's dark, when they give it to the publisher or to the production company, they give it a happy ending, aka have plenty. That's what that movie is about, right? So basically, she says the way that you can put a ray of hope in there is if you start dating again, right? You give people hope by saying they lost love, let's get some new love. So Carrie says Big died. I'm not even thinking about that. But the publisher says at least see if you're open for one date. So um, she says she wants it to happen in the next few weeks because she wants the book to hit near Christmas and be a stocking stuffer. So the deadline is really close. Side note, y'all, I made sure I put this in my notes. Carrie is back with that dry ass bun in the man suit. She's basically dressed like a mixture of Kwame and Janet Jackson from the All Right With Me video, and she looks super emo and depressed. It's like a really 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 depressed Joker, and I don't understand what they were thinking when they picked these fashion choices. This show was known for fashion, and even though they used to take risks, what? And then it ages her. She looked like spoiled milk. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't mean to be mean, but she looks really bad. So with that being said, they go over to Charlotte and LTW, which is Nicole Ari Parker, and they're playing tennis. And LTW has okay, we're going to talk about the fashions again. I took a note on this. LTW has on a Fendi bucket hat and a black and white Fila top. What in the Marshalls is going on here? I don't understand. They must have had no budget for this show. Like, for these people to be super duper rich New Yorkers, they cannot dress. I don't know what is happening here, but either way, Charlotte is telling LTW that she's late because she was getting Carrie to agree to be offered up at the benefit auction, basically a date. So they start talking. They're going over their opponents, saying what their strengths are, where they need to watch out during the tennis to make sure they win, right? And point out also, Charlotte's tennis outfit looks blah. It literally looks like a napkin with some borders on it. I don't know what is going. Like I said, I don't know what is going on. It has no shape, nothing. Like the fashions are just off. But either way, they pan over and it's two older ladies looking like Blanche and Dorothy. That is going to be their opponents, right? And Eye of the Tiger starts playing, so it's obvious that they spent more of their money on the music than the fashion. So the other thing I want to point out is something ain't right. So hold up. Now, how come these much older ladies who are playing against Charlotte and LTW can dye their hair, they can play full hard on tennis, while Carrie has an old lady back, refer back to my previous reviews, and Miranda insists on looking like old Mother Hubbard, cussing Charlotte out for asking her to dye her hair, and the older ladies are dressed better than LTW and Charlotte. It's not adding up. The math is not mathing. Somebody did not check on the continuity. It makes absolutely no sense. Then they sit up here and drag out this tennis match. They must have had not enough story for this episode. The tennis match went on forever, but I guess they're trying to show that Charlotte and LTW are bonding and that their friendship is strong. And then they're super happy at the end because they beat the Golden Girls. That's what I'm calling them. R.I.P. to Betty White. And then that's the end of that scene. Now we pan over to the farmer's market. And we have Miranda fussing at Steve because he can't find her. Y'all know that Miranda is like my least favorite character. Not from the original show, but from this show, other than Che. But we're going to get into that. She's holding an ACLU bag. Message! She's basically showing that she's an ally. And they work so hard to make sure that everybody looks so woke. You can tell that Cynthia Nixon, a.k.a. Miranda, runs this show. And I guess she has a point to prove. And this show was not the place for her. I don't know. But either way, Steve still can't hear her. She's yelling on the phone. She's frustrated. And while she's at the farmer's market, she runs into Naya, a.k.a. the black professor, with her husband. Now, I'm from Florida. And even in Florida, you're not going to run into people like this. She has been running in to Naya every place she goes. At this point, I would think that one of them is stalking each other. I've been in New York. There's a ton of people. I've had a funny story. Either way, I've had dudes propose to me because they didn't know if they were going to see me again because there's just that many people in New York and you will never see them again because it's that crowded and that busy. But anyways, when she meets Naya's husband, Naya makes a point that she never wanted Miranda to meet her husband. That is a real weird thing to say to somebody who you are trying to grow a friendship with, which I don't think their friendship is really truly appropriate, but I believe because Miranda's older, they're like letting it slide. I don't know. But it was a really weird thing to say. If you're my friend, unless I think you're trying to get at them, why would I not want you to meet the person that's most important to me, aka my husband? Very weird. Either way, Naya and her husband are dressed really Afrocentric. I really love the color she's wearing, and I love especially her hat with the geometric accents, and just that fashion hit for me. So he tells Miranda that it's nice to meet the woman that beat up Chucky on the subway. If you haven't seen my previous reviews, she saved Naya from some pranksters that one of them was dressed like Chucky who was trying to steal her bag. So that's what he's referring to. So he basically is getting ready to walk off because he says he's on a mission to find some cheese, some really unique cheese. I love cheese too. Eh. They're lovey. She basically turns and he gets lovey dovey with Naya, and Miranda admires their kiss and says if they were a TV show, she would stream them. I would not because I think they're boring. Heck, this show is boring, and that is yet another really really weird line for them to say. I've never met a couple that said I saw them and been like, oh, you should be on Netflix. I know a couple that does all these do-it-yourself projects. I say they should be on YouTube, but this line just makes no sense where they're putting it. So nobody speaks like this. And the other part I wanted to point out is, yeah, she's showing that she's woke, but they love to watch our culture. Why, how is that a compliment to say I would watch you guys on TV? It's just really, really weird. I don't know. Anyways, the husband runs off, and she tells Naya goes ahead and says, well, if we were a TV show, it would be a drama because she got her period this morning. She said she's off IVF, but she's still trying, and she doesn't want to let her husband know because she doesn't want to let him down. So understood they're doing a fertility storyline yet again, just like Charlotte. They done killed this storyline. But I think it's really weird that she would tell Miranda this or whatever. But like I said, she said she wouldn't let him down, and she's done trying to have the baby, but she doesn't want to tell him this. Like I said, she doesn't know Miranda from a can of paint. Where's her family? Does she have no best friend? You're going to tell a random student from your class that you're having fertility issues? It's really, really weird. Anyways, Steve walks up old and lost. He says he's glad to meet the professor because she's the only one who intimidates Miranda, so he feels weak in comparison to Miranda. Then he realizes he left his wallet with the pickle guy because he got flustered with Miranda yelling at him, and he runs off. So my question to the actor that plays Steve, and I told you guys I have an amazing irrational love for Steve. Even when he cheated on her in the first movie, I was like, please forgive him. I love him so much. I have an irrational love for Steve. I wonder how much they paid this actor for this part, because none of the men on the show that were on the original show are getting any shine. It's like they're single again. The last 15 years didn't happen. The husbands are just flowers on the wall. It's really weird. So either way, you can tell by Miranda's screwed up face that she cannot stand him. Like even when he walk up, it's like something stank just walking in the room. She just all types of crazy stuff. So she basically fakes the funk, turns to Naya, smiles, and says, so that's my Steve. Just super duper fake. It didn't make any sense. And then Naya comes back and gives husband comes back and gives her a smooch. And what I'm thinking they're trying to do, they're trying to compare a sexy marriage, a loving marriage versus a sexless marriage where there's just friendship and companionship. I'm thinking about doing a show like that. Leave it in the comments if you would be interested, but I think they're just trying to show a comparison. So we go to the next scene, and Carrie's coming down the stairs at her publisher, and once again, she's wearing a muumuu. And she's accenting the muumuu with a crochet purse. One thing I'm going to give her is she does look more youthful with her hair down. She always looks beautiful when it's flowing. She always wore it down when she was on the show. I think except for when she was wearing the white dress with Aiden and she was telling him she didn't want to get married anymore. I think that's the only time she really wore her hair up. But her hair was always long, flowing, curly, beautiful. And they just insist on making this lady look old. So she walks up to Amanda, the publisher, surprises her, and Amanda almost spits her coffee out. and she seems to be super hopped up on cappuccino. She's really, really turned up, and she's there basically to go over the book covers with Carrie. And Carrie starts looking at the book cover proposals, and she looks worried. Amanda thinks they're stunning. It's basically a black and white cover with a splash of color with a shore beach. Like I can see why Carrie didn't like it because I don't know if I could tell what the book is about with a book cover like that. Yes, my name is Deceithia Scholar. I love books. I read them all the time. I'm definitely going to do book reviews on here and other interesting topics, but I'm all about a book. So she starts talking with Carrie, and now Carrie tells her she agrees with her that the book might be too heavy, the Eeyore of it all. So now she thinks it's too sad, and she doesn't want to put it out. Amanda says it's too late. She already pitched the epilogue where she finds a date to the Oprah Book Club, and they loved it. So now all you gotta do is mention the Queen Oprah, and Carrie gets excited again. So they switch over to Carrie meeting up with the girls, and she announces that she's going on a date. And Charlotte's like, "Oh my God, I've been waiting for her to be ready to go on a date." And she says she knows she says there was a whole wave of divorces at the school, and there's a whole bunch of daddies that would be happy to hook up with her. And she was like, Carrie says she wasn't ready. It was a mandated date because of the book. Oh, and I forgot to say, like I said, Seema is there. So, yeah, she's taking Samantha's place at the table. She's the tough and sassy character, and I'm here for it. I miss Samantha Jones completely. Don't get me wrong. I miss her, Kim Cattrall. I understand why you didn't come back to this foolishness, but we miss it. Anyways, Carrie wants to go the anonymous route since it's just a stunt for the book, so she doesn't want to date anybody that they know. She also wants to know if there's a dating app or an app period that knocks you out while filling out dating profiles. So Seema, who has the solutions to all of Carrie's problems, because for some odd reason Carrie can't handle anything in her life by herself, tells her that she already staged, because Seema is a realtor or broker, staged profiles for her on 3 different websites, and she narrowed it down to 1. And she says Carrie's profile has been showing well. So basically, Carrie's a piece of property, and she's showing well. They start looking through the guys, and they're super cute and they're diverse. They got to make sure diversity is here. And basically, Carrie says, this one guy in his picture is chewing his glasses, and Seema makes a joke that glasses chewers are usually good and bad. And I'm like, I gotta make note of that. Then they start talking about Carrie says no sex for Carrie. Basically makes a proclamation that there will be no sex for her indefinitely. Could I make a proclamation? Probably not, y'all. I don't think I could ride with the forever thing. My God. Anyways, Miranda is smiling because she already isn't having sex. She already knows. Charlotte looks perplexed, and Carrie emphasizes that she just wants a pleasant conversation. And now they pan over to Miranda and Carrie walking in New York like they usually do, and then they have a strategically placed black person and strolling past in a crosswalk. Now, one of the complaints of the original show was there were no black people, and everybody knows that New York has tons of black people. Have you ever been to Brooklyn, Bronx, Harlem, Bed-Stuy? All those places have plenty of black people, but there didn't seem to be any black people in Manhattan. And I've been I've been to Manhattan, and there was tons of black people there, so it just didn't make sense. So now I think too they're trying to right all the wrongs of the original show, but the wrong way by having random black people just stroll in front and the camera zoom in. Didn't make any sense. But that's an aside. Miranda asks if Carrie is serious about no sex, and Carrie says she thinks it's weird to think that she'll never have it again, but she doesn't want anybody other than Big. And I'm like, I get it. He was your husband. He hasn't been gone that long. It's very hard for us ladies to give away our body because you make yourself vulnerable to do it. And so I totally get it. So she says the thought of it makes her sick to her stomach. And she starts thinking about her old dating life and reflecting. And she said her old dating life was always dangerous, like a roller coaster. Like she almost lost her life trying to do all that crazy stuff to get her one. And now her one is gone, right? And Miranda makes a very, very slick comment saying she would kill to get back on a roller coaster. Meaning, like, she doesn't, her marriage is boring. She wants to start dating again. And so she's alluding to what's going to happen later in the episode. And Carrie turns and looks at her. She catches what she dropped. And Carrie says she hoped that things would be better with Steve. And Miranda says no. She asks what's the lifespan of an unanswered text. Carrie says about 3 hours. And I'm like, yes, girl. To me, I know you saw my text. Unless you're at work and you're super busy or something is going on where you can't get to the text, it only takes 3 seconds to text. Hey, I'm busy. I'll get back with you. Anything if it's really important to you. But either way, Miranda states that she's waiting on Che, and she asks Carrie if they ask about her at the podcast. Carrie says the podcast is for the streets, so they don't ask about anybody. So Miranda says, guess what? I'm just going to count what happened. Remember, her and Che had the magic finger session, the most magic finger in the universe session in Carrie's kitchen when she had her knee surgery, right? Or hip surgery. She said, Miranda busts out and says she had the most transcendent sex of her life and it will never happen again. And she totally got sad. And once again, I need to know what Che has in that dang on finger, boy. I don't understand what she has in that finger. I need to look it up. Do they have it on Amazon? Can I get it delivered on Prime? Because whatever Che has in her finger, it is amazing. So Carrie was like, well, it's the same thing with me. So I guess Big was holding it down in the bedroom as well. But he's dead. So, she can't think about that anymore. So Miranda turned to her and was like, well, my sex life with Steve is in a coma. So she's saying it's pretty much dead too. So they pan over to Harry and Charlotte in the kitchen. And they're in the kitchen. And Harry turns around and says she saw LTW's husband getting off the subway. And they were talking about tennis and how their wives play tennis. And he wonders why the boys aren't invited. She asks if they would like to play doubles. And he's like, he's all in. So then it switches over to Naya and her hubby. And they're riding in a car. They're talking about dinner and where they want to eat. And a text comes through from Miranda about her not being pregnant. And she's trying to stop the text from coming through. And because remember, she told Miranda, but she hasn't told her husband, but it was too late. So of course he's super upset because she told one of her students before him. And her trying to argue about the text coming through, trying to stop the text, she almost hit a same-sex couple with a stroller that's in the crosswalk. So once again, strategically placed diversity, just randomly walking through a scene. But this dude actually is pissed off and runs up to the car screaming. And he's like, I have a toddler. And they're acting like this is totally, they're like, chill out, dude. It's all right. It's not that serious. I'm like, in Florida, somebody would have ran up on your car like that. Somebody is catching hands. I guess the black folks in New York are calm and cool and eccentric and Afrocentric and all that good stuff because no. And they turn after the whole crazy scene. They turn and they laugh with each other, but there was nothing funny about it. I don't know if that was supposed to be a thing. I don't know, but like I said, if they had a Netflix show, best part would be the sex scene. So that sex scene for last episode was everything, but I would definitely not watch it. But Naya apologizes for not telling him first, and then that's the end of that scene. They move on. They flip over to Carrie, and she's in her room by herself on the app swiping, trying to figure out who she's going to go on a date on, and she chooses Peter, who's a teacher/widower. Now they go over, now we see Char and LTW playing their husbands in tennis. Charlotte runs over to Harry basically they were trying to decide who was going to hit the ball first. Charlotte runs over to Harry and knocks him over to win the game. And he wants Charlotte to apologize or say sorry for knocking him over. And she said it was an accident. And he said his feelings were hurt. And she accuses him of mansplaining during tennis. And she refuses to apologize because it's a part of the game. And basically LTW and her hubby see that they're arguing. And she's upset because she doesn't want to be labeled the couple that are in the street fighting or whatever. Because, there's always that one couple that show up to Thanksgiving, show up to every event, arguing and fighting. They won't leave each other. It's super toxic. But they love each other, boy. But they can argue down. I have one of those in my family. But just to speak on the mansplaining, I think they also push the feminist narrative in this show big time as well. And I think because Charlotte is supposed to be so sweet and soft, they feel like showing her growth is making her a feminist, and I don't like it. So either way, Miranda and Steve are in the kitchen, and she's trying to spark up their sex life again. It's about to get a little graphic, y'all. So she's trying to get him to finger her like how Shay fingered her, and reenact all the caressing of the boobs and, oh my bad, y'all, caressing of the boobs and everything. And she, when he's doing it, she's just not into it. But I don't think she really wanted to be into it. She just wanted to make a comparison and an excuse, so when she goes to try to get that finger again from Shay, she could say she tried. But either way, it fails, and they go back to their routine. And Steve wanted to keep going, but she shuts it down. Like I said, they have Steve looking so old. Like, is it because he's old? He's supposed to not know how to have sex now or get things started? Because obviously, what the main thing that people loved about Steve and Miranda's characters, they were always in the bed smashing. They were always smashing. It was always passionate. If anything, that's why she stayed with him, because every time he tried to move in, every time he tried to progress the relationship, she would stop it. She would be cold and stop it, and then they would smash, and she would remember that they smashed, and then they would keep the relationship going. So a lot of their relationship was based on sex. So it's really, really crazy that now supposedly he doesn't know how to put it down in the bedroom. Then another point is they're really pushing this lesbian narrative on Miranda, and they had a whole episode about her not being a lesbian, her trying to kiss a woman, and she vehemently said that she is not a lesbian. Now they changed it to match the real life person, Cynthia Nixon, who is LBGTQAI, all of those letters. So they're trying to make it match, and I think it's a stretch. They should have just left it alone. So now we switch over to Carrie. Carrie and her bun goes on a date. It's a first date for both of them since becoming widowers. So they drink, they're living it up, and then all of a sudden they get so drunk that they go outside and they start throwing up everywhere, and they show all of it, and it's so disgusting all over the shoes. I'm like, Mike. So when y'all want to get graphic, this is the part y'all want to get graphic on. Okay, I see you, HBO. I see you. So they switch over to the auction, and LTW and her hubby are the hosts. And it's funny because their interaction. Now they're a funny couple. I like their interactions with each other. It's funny because he's super duper good at the hosting, and she's terrible. She can't hold the mic up, and it's good to show their interaction and how much they love each other. So Carrie's telling everybody at the auction about her table, about the date and how it was bad, and she blamed Charlotte. And in the middle of her telling that they were puking, Anthony busts out and said he shit himself on the date. Just let that sink in. Okay. And Carrie says his date is not worse than hers because it doesn't count unless his husband died. And I'm like, how many times is this lady gonna drop my dead husband card on this conversation, especially if so much time has passed? Yes, I'm sad for you that your husband died, but it's not an excuse to be a jerk. I don't understand her. But either way, Charlotte leaves. She apologizes to Carrie about the date, and then she leaves the table to go parent, right? Her words, not mine. And Harry gets upset because he's like, you can apologize to them, right? But you can't apologize to me. Then they pan back to Anthony, who keeps on with this shitty story, and I guess that's going to be his running joke for the show. And Harry and Charlotte argue while picking out auction items for Rock, a.k.a. Rose, and Lily. And he points out to Charlotte that she said sorry 12 times since they've been there, and she still refuses to say it to him. And she tells him, women apologize to the world all the time for everything. Tennis is one place I don't have to apologize. And she quotes Demi Lovato and says, sorry, not sorry. And I'm like, this was just feminist for no reason. You knocked the man down. Just say sorry. Damn. Like, I'm getting frustrated with the show, y'all. There's storylines. Lord have mercy. So she walks away, storms off, and Harry's like, man, we need to bid on some couples counseling because, basically he knows that this thing is a mess and doesn't make sense. So then it goes back to Carrie. She's being all sad, saying her book is sad, and she doesn't have any hope because her date was bad. I'm like, every time this lady come on the screen, they got to make us depressed. So either way, Miranda told her that she tried to revive her sex life and it didn't work. She said it was like two zombies trying to have sex. And Carrie asked if she tried counseling, and she said that they've tried it twice. Like I said, Miranda didn't want to revive it. She just wanted an excuse to say that her husband was bad in bed, and that's the reason why she smashed Che. We'll get on Che in a second. So, goes back to LCW, and her husband, and they're introducing Che from Netflix. Now, oh God, I gotta go on my Che rant real quick. Anyway, she comes out and she tells a coming out joke. And as usual, she's not funny. You guys, Che is like the worst character on TV right now. She has no depth. She has no lines. All she does is smoke green. To me, and I've seen some girl on girl action. I'm okay. I'm all for it. Go for it, buddy. But she is not sexy at all. I guess she's somebody's cup of tea, but there's nothing sexually attractive about this lady. She's like the Jar Jar Binks of TV right now. Just saying horrible one-liners, sounding crazy, taking down the whole episode every time she talks. I cannot stand Che. And she came out dressed like Little Richard. I mean, she had the little F-boy cut. You have the little lines and everything. You remember I told you guys I'm attracted to the F-boy haircut, but I'm just like, Che, I can't do it. But either way, Miranda sees her and just goes running. It's like, oh snap! I might get my rocks off. I gotta get over here. She got that magic finger I've been waiting on. So either way, she runs off. Anthony comes over because he's upset because nobody in the place is hot, and so he ended up getting a hand job from one of the caterer dudes. But he knows he's not gonna get laid, right? So Carrie notices the teacher that she went out with. And she sneaks a peek at him, and she's going to try to sneak to get away. So she asked Anthony to follow the dude out and make sure he's gone. And he's like, why do you have me stalking this dude? She's like, my husband died. You got to do it for me. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be a recurring theme in the show. Okay, great. So next scene is Che mingling and talking about her special with some really crazy fans. Apparently every straight person in the and Just Like That universe thinks Che is sexy. There's something charming about her. Woo! We want Che. Okay, my bad. So either way, woo. So Miranda walks up and she's smiling all big because she's thinking about the bankers, And she sees Che see her and just keep on talking. So now she's upset because she thinks Che is ignoring her, and she runs out. Che goes and finds her and calls her Rambo. That's her pet name, Rambo. They in love, y'all. They in love. Okay. Miranda was trying to play it off like we all do, acting all cold, like everything's okay, like she was unbothered. Then Che looks confused and she doesn't know how to emote. So it was the same blank face that she always has. She asked what's going on or why Miranda's being weird with her. And Miranda calls her out for not responding to her text or DM for 3 months. And Che says, I be high. I stay high. I don't remember everything. Plus, I get a lot of DMs. And Miranda's like, oh, I'm sure you do get a lot of DMs. You know how we do. We're throwing shade because we think the person is for the streets, but we want them. You know how it goes. So she's like, I really didn't clock it. I didn't know. DM me again. And she goes, she says, ask for what you want. And then Che follows it up and she says, hey, I want to take you somewhere and take you somewhere and take off all your clothes and do you. That's what I want. Woo! Miranda says, that box head. She gets excited and she's surprised and her Uber pulls up and then it goes away from that scene. What's going to happen? Is she going to take her somewhere and get her naked? We going to see. Either way, they go back to LTW and her husband arguing because he needs to leave and she doesn't want to finish hosting by herself because she's awful. He says, "Why do you care if you're awful?" And she was like, "You call me awful." You know, girls, we do that all the time. We love to do that. She turns it on him. And then they get caught arguing, and Harry and Charlotte walk in and like, whoa. And it's so funny. This part was actually funny because LTW was like, oh my God, now they think we're that couple. So everybody's worried about people seeing them fight in public. Don't fight with your boo in public, please. Don't do that, y'all. It's not cute. Either way, LTW's husband, I'm going to remember his name. I think it's Herbert, but I don't want to be wrong about it. He's the dude from Hamilton. I love him. Yeah. But he turns to her, he says, I love you. And then he takes over the hosting. So it's showing that they have an amazing relationship and good interaction. I actually would watch a show with them with their family dynamic and the two kids and what he does, learn more about what he does for a living. I like it. So either way, they show Carrie and Anthony trying to sneak out. Charlotte catches her and says, you can't leave because you're one of the items on the auction. So she has to get up there. So LTW's husband, I'm going to say his name is Herbert, I don't know, announces, hey, sex writer Carrie Bradshaw is here. How much you want to bid? And she gets mad because she thinks it means that when he says sex writer, it sounds like she writes porn or whatever, right? So she gets upset. And it's supposed to be just a lunch, and they're calling it a date. So Charlotte, being Charlotte, corrects the host right there when he's on the stage. So that's classic Sex and the City. But we're going to take a fashion moment. I actually really liked Carrie's black and white dress. The shoes were terrible. They looked like some slides you'll wear to sleep. But overall, she was given a Jackie O look. You know, the fashions were very bougie, posh, Upper East Side. So I liked it. So while they were putting her up for bid, nobody bids. And somebody straight up said what was the elephant in the room. Nobody's going to bid. They're all married. They took her to a school function where most likely there's going to be families, and most of the families going to be there is going to be mom and dad, married or not. They're going to be in couples. So it was totally awkward for no reason. So nobody's bidding on her. Basically, they one dude put his hand up and they thought he was bidding or whatever, but he's like, no, I'm not bidding. I'm just trying to clean up or whatever. And this after they keep dropping the bids. All of a sudden, Charlotte, you know, she's trying to be a ride or die, but it's not helping. Bids $700. Carrie's like, you know, I just want to end this, and she bids $1,000 for herself. And then the teacher, Widower Bay, bids $1,050. So he had threw a little $50 on there, you know. And Anthony's like, oop, I'm sorry, I didn't see him. I must have missed him when I was getting that hand job. You know, Anthony got to be inappropriate, right? So the teacher and Carrie are talking to each other because he won her, right? And he says, don't worry about it. We don't have to go on a date. And she offers to cover his bid. And they're sitting there reminiscing over their date, even though it was terrible. And they decide to go out on a date anyway. They say it's for the kids. But, you know, they have a chemistry. They're building a relationship. Dude, what the heck is his name? Peter. He's not my cup of tea. He's not like a real sexy silver fox. But it's realistic for the show, right? Then it pans over to the sex scene with Miranda and Jay. Miranda's boobs are on display. I'm going to give her an A1 for the boobs. They sitting. She older and they still sitting. They still pretty. I'll give you that, Miranda. And Che is kissing all over them. And y'all know how I feel about Che. The original sex scene was super dry in the kitchen. But I guess this one is better, but they're going to keep insisting on showing this. I'm not here for the Che and Miranda sex scenes, and I'm not here for Brady and his little girlfriend because it seems real jacked up, and you know why. Because it's some jits. I don't like it. So either way, Miranda says that Nookie was so good that she thinks she's in love. I've been there, y'all. I'm sure y'all been there, too. And she says, I'm in love with you. And Che responds, you're in love with you. And the weed doesn't hurt either. Che is not stunting Miranda. She high, and she just wanted to smash, and she knew she could pull Miranda. She knew she didn't answer that lady DM for 3 months. Anyway, and Miranda says, no, it's not just that. And Che said, I'm also very good at sex. I'm like, okay, Che. Okay, give me the confidence. Yeah, she said, I'll put it down. Oh, sorry, not she. They. They said they put it down in the bed, and I'm not mad at it, right? So Miranda agrees, and they start kissing. Then they go away from that. Carrie gets home, and she has a text from Peter, and she smiles. And she goes to her Mac, and she writes that there is a glimmer of hope. And just like that, the episode is over. Woo! Lord, it was a lot, y'all. It was a lot. It was hard to get through it. There was some craziness in here. There was a couple of spots where it was cool and everything. But I believe there's 3 more episodes, so please ride with me. Once again, shout out to my new subscribers. This channel is going to have TV reviews, book reviews, subjects that I find interesting because I am the CPS scholar and I love to learn, and I want you guys to learn with me. So sending you lots of love. Have a blessed and wonderful rest of the weekend. It's MLK, y'all. We got an extra day off. I'm out.